So, how do you defeat an enemy who seems, well, completely invincible? Today, we're diving deep into the epic Mahabharata for a truly incredible story. We're talking about a tyrant with the strength of 10,000 elephants, a genius plan of deception, and a duel that went on for almost a month. This is the story of the king who just couldn't be killed.
All right, so our story kicks off not with some huge battle, but with a desperate plea. A messenger shows up with this urgent message for Krishna, and it's on behalf of thousands of kings who've been thrown in prison. The stakes are set right from the get-go. There's a huge evil casting a shadow over the land, and a lot of lives are hanging in the balance.
So, who is this tyrant, who has the power to lock up thousands of other kings? Well, that brings us to the heart of the problem, the one huge obstacle standing in the way of a new empire, the fearsome king Jarasandha. Now, to understand Jarasandha, you have to know his origin story, and it is wild. You see, he wasn't born like an ordinary man. His two queens each gave birth to half a child. These two halves were discarded, but a forest demoness named Jara found them, and using her magic, joined them together. That's where he gets his name, Jarasandha, joined by Jara. And it's what gave him the absolutely insane strength of 10,000 elephants.
Okay, so here's where the conflict really heats up. The noble king Yudhishthira wants to perform a sacred ritual, the Rajasuya sacrifice, to be crowned as the emperor of the world. But to do that, he needs every other king to pledge their allegiance. Jarasandha? He hasn't just said no, he's gone and conquered them all, creating this massive, insurmountable roadblock.
So, a direct war is pretty much impossible. Jarasandha's army is just too big, his allies too powerful. They'd get crushed. So they need a smarter plan, a cleverer strategy. And what they come up with is the Brahman's Gambit.
A head-on attack? That would be a complete suicide mission. But there's a loophole. Jarasandha has this famous vow. He never, ever refuses a request from a Brahmin, a member of the holy priestly class. This, right here, opens up a very risky but very real opportunity for a one-on-one duel, completely bypassing his entire army. So the plan they cook up has 3 brilliant steps. First, Krishna and the 2 mighty heroes, Bhima and Arjuna, are going to disguise themselves as humble traveling Brahmins. Second, they'll use this disguise to ask for a very strange kind of charity, a duel to the death. And third, they're going to put forward their champion, the powerhouse Bhima, whose strength is the only one in the world that can actually match Jarasandha's.
With the plan locked in, our 3 heroes travel deep into enemy territory. This brings us right to the dramatic confrontation in Jarasandha's capital city, the heart of Magadha.
And they don't just, walk in quietly. Their entrance is a statement. They literally tear down the peak of a sacred hill, they smash a huge warning drum to pieces, and they get into the city by climbing the wall like invaders. This is not a friendly visit. It's a declaration of war hidden inside some Brahmin robes.
But here's the thing. Jarasandha is no fool. He is incredibly sharp. He takes one look at their muscular bodies and the warriors' calluses on their hands, and he sees right through the disguise. He calls them out on it immediately, appealing their honor as warriors and demanding they tell him the truth.
At that point, Krishna just drops the act. He reveals who they really are and lays down the ultimatum. It's a very clear choice. Free the captive kings right now and accept defeat, or fight them to the death and get sent straight to the abode of Yamaraja, the lord of the underworld.
Jarasandha, being this incredibly proud and fearless king, accepts the challenge. He kind of scoffs at Krishna and Arjuna and chooses to fight the only man he sees as a true equal, Bhima. And this fateful choice kicks off one of the most legendary, unbelievable battles in the entire epic. So why did this fight last so incredibly long? Well, it's because they were perfectly, almost ridiculously matched. You have 2 men each with the strength of 10,000 elephants. One is fighting with just raw, brutal power, while the other is being guided by divine strategy. It was truly an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. For 28 straight days, these 2 titans fought from sunrise to sunset, and every single night, in this bizarre show of warrior etiquette, they would pause the fight. Jarasandha would actually host his enemies as honored guests in his own palace, only to try and kill them again the very next morning. It's just wild. The sheer endurance here is it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. They shattered these massive iron clubs on each other, then just kept going with their bare hands. They wrestled, they punched, they grappled, but neither man could overpower the other. It was a perfect and seemingly endless stalemate. So on the 28th day, Krishna realizes that brute force is never going to win this thing. He needs to give Bhima the key. He remembers Jarasanda's origin story, how he was born as two separate halves. So Krishna quietly picks up a little twig, and while Bhima's watching, he splits it right down the middle and throws the two pieces in opposite directions. Bhima gets the signal. Instantly. He summons every last bit of strength he has, throws Jarasandha to the ground, plants his foot on one leg and grabs the other. And with this one final, tremendous roar, he does to the king exactly what Krishna did to the twig, tearing him in half right along the very seam where he was once joined. And just like that, the invincible king was finally dead. The death of Jarasandha. I mean, this wasn't just the end of a duel. It was the dawn of a new empire. His fall immediately cleared the way for a whole new world order to rise up. And the results were immediate. Krishna, always the diplomat, puts Jarasandha's son on the throne to keep things stable. The thousands of captive kings are finally freed. And most importantly, the biggest obstacle to Yudhishthira's imperial sacrifice was now completely gone.
And the freed kings? They were completely transformed by the experience. Their long imprisonment had humbled them, they admitted that their own pride was what led to their downfall, and they pledged their loyalty, not just out of gratitude, but out of a brand new sense of humility and dependence on a higher power.
So with Jarasandha's death securing the heartland, Yudhishthira's brothers could finally get to work. They set out in all four directions, north, south, east, and west, on a mission to bring the entire world under the banner of a single, unified empire, founded on principles of righteousness and duty. You know, in the end, this incredible story really shows how the fall of one seemingly unkillable tyrant was absolutely necessary for a new order to rise. It's a pattern we see again and again throughout history, and it leaves us with a pretty powerful question. When one great power falls, what rises to take its place? Hey, if you enjoyed this story of strategy, strength, and divine intervention, please do us a favor and like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into these amazing tales. Thanks so much for watching.